Once again, everyone, I am Curtis, and I'm here with my good friend Nick. We are in week 5 of our podcast. Nick, how you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you, Kurt?
Nothing too bad. I can't complain. Just watched Get Out last night because that's our movie of the week, and that always takes some time to recover. But I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, it's this one's a hard hitter this week for sure.
Yeah, so I guess the first thing we should talk about with this movie is Jordan Peele, the director. It's his first feature movie he ever made, and he made it with such technical expertise and so much detail that it's like a Tarantino or David Fincher. It's like an expert movie for this guy that just made his first film.
Right, and nobody expected that, especially out of a guy that had been in comedy for how long?
Oh, years and years. Key and Peele, they're a big deal for a long time, and I think actually that's kind of what helped him on his path, at least for the details, because a lot of sketch comedy is parodying other things and making shots that are reminiscent to popular culture, trying to recreate these scenes to make fun of them. And I think that really helped him when it came to directing these scenes and getting the details just right and loading every shot with so much detail.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that the fact that he was already well known boosted him as well. But I don't think anybody expected for him to be able to make a horror movie to that caliber, considering his comedic background.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely came out of left field. But such a strong debut. It's probably my favorite directorial debut of all time. And we should probably note now, there's just going to be spoilers all throughout. We're just going to throw it all out there. If you haven't seen Get Out, go watch it. It's incredible.
Well, Kurt, where should we start with this? Where do you want to start?
Okay, I just want to make one note real quick, because we got a lot to get into. But a couple weeks ago, we were supposed to do Sorry to Bother You. And that was a movie that I was stoked to do. I was excited because we get to talk about Lakeith Stanfield, and I just had to point out that he is in this movie for a whole minute and a half, and he is incredible in that minute and a half, and he deserves some respect.
Oh, we'll get back to Lakeith Stanfield. Don't you worry. We'll do another Sorry to Bother You.
Yes, but he is actually in 2 scenes in this movie. He's the guy that gets taken in the very first scene, and he's also the guy in the hat that Chris awakens from the sunken place later on in the movie. And a lot of people don't realize that it's the same character or the same actor, because he's so good at flipping from one character to the other.
Well, I guess we're just gonna flat out go ahead and get this out in the open here. So if you haven't watched this movie, or if you have no idea what this movie may in fact be about, pretty sure this movie has a lot to do with racism.
Oh, yeah.
But would I be right, Curtis, in assuming that this movie has a lot to do with racism?
Might have a little to do with racism, just a little bit. Some of the imagery might hint to it very subtly.
Actually, in an interview, Jordan Peele says he wrote this movie during the beginning of the Obama administration, and he used the quote, a post-racial lie.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And a lot of the way the characters, the more malicious characters, play up their more microaggressions towards the beginning to make Chris feel more comfortable, kind of play into that as well.
Now, when you say microaggressions, what can you describe that?
Yeah, so it's little things that aren't malicious. They're not meant to be taken as a racial attack, but it's something that would definitely make somebody of that color feel uncomfortable or awkward in that situation. So when Chris finally goes to meet Rose's parents, they're very upfront about how unracist they are, how cool they are. They're like, oh, I would have voted for Obama for a 3rd term if I could have, and oh, my dad lost to Jesse Owens in the Olympic trials, and isn't that so cool, and Jesse's the best, and all this stuff. And it's acting like you guys are on the same level when really you're not.
Right, because in fact, I feel like if you have to say that you're not racist, you may be racist.
Yes, if you're going out of your way to prove how cool and unracist you are, you might be a racist.
Which I think is a big issue this movie was trying to address, like, just because, and the reoccurring theme of like voting for Obama and stuff like that, just because, you know, you voted for Obama or anything like that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not racist.
Yeah, and I listened to the commentary again because I'm that guy. And Jordan Peele, first of all, is like the biggest nerd ever and dropped a million little pop culture references and things that he was inspired by. I'll get to those in a few minutes, but that was one thing he mentioned was he wanted the parents to be those cool, awkward parents, the dropping the microaggressions because it makes you feel more comfortable. He thinks, you know, oh, these people are awkward and they're making it weird, but at least they're not like aggressively racist. They're trying to kill me. Like they're cool guys. They just don't understand what they're saying. Like what they're saying is weird and awkward. And
Well,
that kind of like sets a false sense of security for him first getting there.
I guess that poses the next question. Is this actually worse than blatant racism?
It's different. It just has different effects. It's not malicious or intended, but it definitely has a cultural effect.
I was going back through the movie, and before I got to a certain point, I wrote down the question: is Rose, who is Chris's girlfriend, is Rose actually the worst character in this film?
Yeah, I think so, because she was the best actress. She was the best at hiding him. She had him fully convinced that it was us versus them until the very last second.
So my whole entire portion has a lot to do with color symbolism, and Rose's transformation is so interesting to me because when we first meet Rose in the very beginning of the film, she's wearing this blue jean jacket and portrayed in blue, and throughout the film, blue is supposed to be more of a trusting color. Rod's shown in it, Chris is shown in it, and Chris kind of knows who to trust based on, you know, the blue color. So we see her, and she's in blue, and she's also in blue, you know, the whole entire scene with the police officer where she's like, oh, you don't need to see his ID, this, that, and the other. But if you notice, she's driving a red car, which like already sets you up for danger and deceit and everything like that. So you're like, oh shit, what's gonna happen?
Right.
So the next scene that we see Rose in, she's in black, like her dad is as well. And black in this movie is kind of what I took it to be, is more of a like a guise or a deceit, not necessarily deceit, but like mystery. Like, all right, something sketchy's on here. Like the dad was shown in black whenever we first met him. And then the next scene we see Rose in, she's also in black. And then the most interesting scene for me, and this is where we see the giant contrast between Chris and when he starts to realize something's up with the Rose, is at the lake and at the party. If you notice, everyone in that scene is either in black or black and red. Black and white or black and red. So the red is in that scene is supposed to show like the secret society that they're a part of, and also danger and warning. And Rose is also in white and red in that scene, while Chris is the only one in blue. So that's when we start to see that discrepancy. And then the final time that we see Rose in her last transformation into the shit human being that she is she is in a nicely pressed white blouse with black pants.
Eating cereal, colored cereal, and milk separated.
Separately.
But drinking the milk with a white or with a black straw.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
So yeah, there's a ton of little details like that. That's part of the genius of Jordan Peele and how much thought he put into this. Every little single detail is so well thought out. It kind of reminds me of Scott Pilgrim, where every second, every detail, every line has meaning, has purpose, is there for a reason.
What is one of the most memorable scenes in your opinion, Curtis?
From this movie?
Yes.
Oh, there's a lot, but the one that jumps out to me, there's two. From a horror aspect, it's the scene where um the grandma of the family, playing like the maid character, like confronts Chris in the bedroom. It's one of the most like truly horror scenes I can think of. And then um another one I really like is the party scene before the auction where they're all kind of scoping Chris out. What's yours?
I was actually gonna say the scene with Georgina as well when they're in the
Yeah.
bedroom, and it's
So
kind of like
creepy.
right. It's like she wants to say something, and then she just starts like kind of like crying.
Oh, and that is shot so well with this like close up of her face. It feels like she is in our personal space.
Right, and the actress that plays her is phenomenal as well because
Mm-hmm.
she is trying to keep this composure while she's crying, and it's like
The tears just streaming down. Oh, so good.
I would say another one for me is the first time he goes into the sunken place
Mm.
when he's the mom he goes out for a cigarette and the mom catches him
Mm-hmm.
and takes her into her little room or whatever
Mm-hmm.
and does the spoon thing.
Yeah, that scene is incredibly well thought out because we think Chris is ahead of her. He knows that she has like tricks up her sleeve and she's into hypnosis and stuff, and he's going into that scene thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna beat this. I'm not gonna let her trick me." But as he's thinking that and like showing her that he's a step ahead, she's already working on triggering him with the teacup.
Right. And she gets out viable information out of him about his mom being in the hit and run accident when he was
Yep.
11.
Yep.
So he already gives up his trauma to her like within 2 minutes of setting down.
Mm-hmm.
I watched this interview after the movie, and that was the first scene that he tried out for. And Jordan Peele said he got it. He's like first take, pretty much. He got it. Said he didn't even have to ask him to do anything. He did it all on his own. He started crying and everything. Like,
That's pretty awesome.
yeah.
I guess we should go and talk about some of the little details that we really appreciated because I wanted to talk about the first scene we meet Chris. We go into his apartment and Redbone is playing by Childish Gambino, and the whole like section of the song is "Stay Woke," and that was a good introduction for Chris because he is very much what Jordan Peele described as woke in that he's not your typical black character in a horror movie. He is he's going to make the right decisions. He's going to do the right thing to stay alive. And the interesting part in that scene is it's super foreshadowing. He's shaving his face, and the first time we see Chris, he's rubbing white shaving cream all over his face. So it's kind of like a white face imagery, and also it's foreshadowing just the fact that these white people are going to try to become him.
Right. Right. Which is there's a whole thing with mirrors in the movie as well. Did you notice that?
Yes, mirrors and windows are like a big motif of his.
What did you gather from the mirrors?
The mirrors, I mostly saw the white family and the white characters embodying black bodies, looking at themselves in the mirror and admiring them. There's the scene where Georgina's in her room and she's looking in the mirror and she almost takes off her wig to reveal the scar of the brain surgery, and then she sees Chris. And there's a few scenes like that, and Georgina never really notices Chris standing outside through the window because she's so affixed with the mirror and her self-image of this perfect body that they have, because they have this theory that black bodies are the purest and best, and that's their plan to live forever.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
Apparently, Jordan Peele has the entire history of this secret society like mapped out and written, and he just hasn't revealed it to anybody. And they're descendants of the Knights of the Templar who were searching for the Holy Grail. And this generation, or the past few generations of them, have been seeking immortality by doing this brain surgery and implanting themselves into other people.
So what you just told me is this movie is technically based on a true story.
I don't know if I would go that far. Maybe.
But what you just revealed to me is there's an actual society.
No, it's a fictional thing that he made up. A fictional society
Oh.
that he planned out and like thought the entire history of, and planned all this out.
Oh my god, you almost got me there. I was like, wait, people actually believe this shit? Like,
No, but that doesn't mean we won't see more Knights of the Templar universe stories from Jordan Peele explaining more of that society and stuff. That'd be pretty cool.
I mean, I feel like he kind of did a little bit in Us.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting the fact that this movie had an alternate ending.
Mm-hmm. A very more real, haunting alternate ending.
So, in the alternate ending, the actual cops show up and they're both white. And they arrest him, and it flashes to 6 months later, and Rod comes to visit him in prison and says, I think we almost got the family. We've almost got them. And he goes, no, it's too late. I've already come to terms with my demons, which is saying that, and Jordan Peele confirmed this, he's come to when he went back for Georgina, that was him coming to overcoming his trauma of his mom dying in the hit and run accident.
See, that is not where I thought that went at all.
No. So, and Jordan Peele said that he liked this ending originally because it was real. It definitely addressed an issue about how unjust our police system is, and how, even though we just saw all this unfold and everything like that,
right, there would be ample evidence to commit the other family.
Yeah, even though it just got burned down, which is what Chris said in that alternate ending. Says, oh, the evidence is already burned down, though.
Mm-hmm.
But Jordan Peele picked the actual ending of the movie with Rod come save him, and because it kind of gave them a hero and a not necessarily like a lighter ending, but it kind of, the whole sticking together thing.
Yeah, and that's something Jordan Peele talked a lot about in the commentary, is he was using this movie to make a comment about race, and using it for a lot of different reasons, but one of the main ones was he wanted to point out that there aren't as many like characters of color in horror movies. All these characters have such small roles. There's not really any leading roles, and so many minority audience members go to horror movies and they don't see representation of themselves on screen. So he wanted to give, like you said, the character or the audience characters to look up to, and he wanted to give all these smart and genius characters a place to shine.
I mean, he's absolutely right. I mean, any older horror movie that you watch, I'd say probably one of the first characters to go is usually one of the minority characters, soon to be followed by a woman, and it's usually a man that ends up saving the day or whatever, which they've recently at least adjusted the whole women being badasses thing, and now we are also making minorities badasses, which makes me happy.
Oh yeah, we could have a great marathon of women and people of color saving the day. We got this, You're Next, Us. We have so many great options. It Follows,
Evil
another
Dead?
great one. Evil Dead.
The new Evil Dead.
Oh,
I don't know. This movie was absolutely incredible, and the message that it had, and as someone, you know, it as someone who is not a person of color watching this movie, it kind of makes me realize a little bit like, oh, watch what you say and that type of thing. And it definitely has a deeper message for the masses.
Right. It doesn't really pick a side. It's critical of both blatant racism and these microaggressions we were talking about, and definitely makes you more aware of how you act in those situations.
Stay woke.
Stay woke. Oh, okay. So I found the list. I wanted to name some of the pop culture references Jordan Peele talked about in the commentary, and these are just what I caught watching. I wasn't really like focusing in on everything he was saying because he drops pop culture references like once a second. I feel like we'd be really good friends with him because he just goes with all the pop culture references. He would fit right in our group. So things he referenced that kind of inspired him to in different shots of this movie are The Shining, North by Northwest, Stepford Wives, Silence of the Lambs, David Lynch, The Matrix, Frankenstein, and the list goes on and on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's quite a few. Like, every single shot is very strategic. And there's definitely quite a few that are completely reminiscent of, like you said, like I can definitely see a couple from Silence of the Lambs in there.
Mm-hmm.
The Shining for sure, especially with those long hallway shots towards the end of the movie.
Yes, exactly. And there's one in the beginning of the movie. One he pointed out that was kind of a mix of The Shining and Silence of the Lambs is when we first see Georgina in the kitchen. We're walking down this
Oh
hallway, we
shit.
turn the corner, and she's just standing there, staring at them, waiting for them. And it's kind of this like menacing moment. He's described it as the twins in The Shining or Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. Like they're approaching this thing that's waiting for them, and it's really ominous.
I in the honestly, it in general, camera angles make a horror movie
Mm-hmm.
because it's this loss of power. We have a lot of shots in the movie that are following Chris.
Mm-hmm.
So we're literally seeing, honestly, one of the weirdest, most horrifying moments in that entire movie was the party scene.
Yes, I love everything about that scene.
Because we feel what Chris is feeling. We feel like an outsider. There's all these old white people
Mm-hmm.
that are like making remarks about him and everything like that. And even Rose, like even when he's with Rose, he still feels uncomfortable.
Yeah. And that speaks to the beauty of this movie. Because if you're watching it for the first time, everything that is a clear sign of danger can be like explained away. In this scene, it's all these people are giving him so much more attention and checking him out because he's new, he's black, he's Rose's new boyfriend, and so you kind of explain that it's all they're being weird around him because they're checking him out, seeing what he's like. But once you know what's happening, you realize it's kind of like a slave auction. They're checking out their potential new body, who deciding if they want to try to win that body, and everything is them analyzing if his body would work for them, and it's so scary once you realize that.
Right, which is actually like the next scene when they do the silent bingo auction.
Yeah.
Which is, oh, okay. So honestly, I think the two worst characters in this movie were Rose and the dad.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because, like, you already know the brother's a shithead.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, but I feel like he was supposed to represent more blatant racism.
Yeah, more blatant racism, definitely towing the line of ruining this secret the family's trying to keep. But yeah, more clearly aggressive towards Chris.
Right, he straight up wants to, like, wrestle him at dinner
Mm-hmm.
to see what his strength is.
Yeah. And Peele made a really interesting comment on that scene. He was saying that he thinks Jeremy was the most rebellious of the family and the one that didn't want to go along with this plan, and then he was convinced and became this monster. But it's kind of his chaotic way of towing the line and possibly maybe ruining the surprise. The family never really knows, so they're really uncomfortable around him, and he's using that to just cause chaos in all these scenes.
I mean, when we first meet Jeremy in general, he's not anything what you expect him to look like.
Right.
Comparatively to the rest of the family. Like, he borderline looks like a Southern hick.
Yeah.
Compared to this upper class, white, clean cut family.
Yeah, definitely plays into the rebellious thing that Peele mentioned.
Right. And the mom is already a shithead, like, from the get-go. Well, was there anything else that you wanted to add to this, Kurt?
I guess we should just mention how awesome Lil Rel was, because we haven't really talked about him, and he gave so much comedic energy to this movie that was otherwise pretty, not scary, but heavy, and there's a lot of heaviness going on, and he gives just the perfect comedic timing to give us a little break.
Oh, it was so nice. It was so well played out, too, because, this movie's so psychologically heavy.
Mm-hmm. But no, it's cool, because his character kind of represents the audience and what we want to say in those times, so it's kind of great to have that comedic moment where another character is seeing the same thing and like, yo, what is going on?
Right. Not to mention, like, the thing that baffled me the most is, like, they literally only been dating for 4 months.
Ooh, one last little image I wanted to point out. When Chris is talking to Rose at the very beginning, she says something about, I forget if she was joking that they were going to tell their parents she was pregnant or what was going on, but Chris says the line, "I don't want to be chased off the lawn with a shotgun." At the end of the movie, Rose literally chases him off the lawn with a gun.
With a shotgun.
Yes.
It's the irony.
It's so good and so well planned out. Thank you, Jordan Peele, for being a genius.
And I think that's all I have to say about all that.
All right.
Beautiful movie.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. If you have not seen it, what are you doing listening to this? Go watch the movie.
Right. Go watch the damn movie. I'd like to take a second again to thank our friends at Slogalos. Go check out their album on Spotify or go see them on tour next month.
Yeah, they're going quite a few places, right?
Oh, yeah, pretty much out west. So,
nice.
A couple places around Kentucky as well. So, go check them out. And thank you so much for listening today.
Thank you guys, and thank you, Nick, for joining me.